Right, friends, Romans, and countrymen, listen up because I have to apologize, as I will subject you guys to looking at something absolutely disgusting for the vast duration of today's video. So, for those of you who haven't seen yesterday's early access Immortal Abomination crystal opening, I did manage to pull up a 4-star Immortal Abomination. Now, I have taken that Immortal Abomination to rank 3 as a 4-star champion. In addition to everything else, I have max sigged out the Abomination. I did have enough signature stones, so I just gave them all to Immortal Abomination. Now, I actually didn't really have a chance to play with the champion at all. So what we're going to be looking at right now is going to be my first kind of like actual gameplay with Immortal Abomination. I have seen some clips. I know more or less how it works for this length of a fight, which is Act 4, Chapter 4, Quest 5. The base idea will be just to get to that level 2 and get the stuff going. For longer fights, level 3 kind of has to be involved, but I think the duration should kind of like go level 2. I do not have Suicide Masteries active at the moment, however, I have pretty much all of the Abomination synergies here up in my team. This is, again, just me playing the character for the first time without having ever done so before. And this is going to be me reacting to what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking, and there will be a more extended video, so to speak, about Immortal Abomination for sure. But for now, I'm just going to see how it goes. So the whole point is to get opponent to 10 poisons, and as soon as we do, we should basically form some sort of an aura that lets us go unblockable and have a good time. Well, not aura, but some mega damage mode, let's call it like that. So at this point, I'm going to drop my level 2, which enables, let's say, poison version of Omega Red's aura on us, which places poisons on opponent consistently, which lets us get to our damage mode quicker. Now, level 1 places, I think, 6 poisons on me, and that is what we use to kind of like fuel Abomination's poison aura. So again, I don't feel I did the best job explaining, so I'm going to quickly try to recap. The way this character works, he's a ramp-up character, and you basically start dealing damage once you drop the level 2 and you activate it. Something similar to Omega Red's Death Field, let's call it like that. And the Death Field works in a way where it places a poison debuff on opponent per second, pretty much, as long as you're close to the opponent. But it also eats away poison effects from Abomination. And in order to keep it active, you need to keep being super aggressive, or you need to keep dropping level 1s and generate poisons on yourself. And once you have 10 poisons on your opponent, you go unblockable and you deal extra burst of damage on every hit, basically. So your ultimate goal is to get 10 poisons on opponent, but at the same time you want poisons on yourself and you want to drop your level 2 to help you set up. And additional side note, quite obviously, is any matchup where you cannot poison the opponent, Abomination really is not going to be the greatest champion to go up against. Now we have entered our damage mode, which comes with a Petrify, which is kind of cool in this case. And you can see that opponents start melting away straight away after that level 2. So first thing about characters, very clear, and it's also one of the things that I personally like the least about Immortal Abomination, and that is the fact that pretty much everything kind of relies on not just one, but 2 things. First thing that is very important, obviously the most important thing, is that the opponent is not a poison immune champion or cannot shrug off your debuffs or get rid of them quicker. The second thing that's also extremely important is that you have access to your special attacks, and that is where I personally am most worried, because Act 6 and a lot of newer gameplay, modes and stuff like that often limit your power and which special attacks you can use and things like that. And the fact that nothing else really is happening up until you drop that level 2, and you get to your 10 poisons on opponent, it's quite worrisome in some situations, and definitely, in my opinion, somewhat of a disadvantage of a champion. For instance, Archangel. It's another champion that you can relatively well compare Immortal Abomination, as he's a specialist. Any fight you can bleed and poison opponent, he's considered to be one of the best options, right? And Immortal Abomination has that niche where you want to be able to poison the opponent. But the difference there is that Archangel doesn't rely on special attacks at all, pretty much. You can just do the entire fight with heavy attacks and be perfectly fine. It doesn't rely on you being super aggressive. And certainly, like, enable you to deal a lot of damage from get-go. Now, once again, we can see that until I drop that level 2, I do some damage, but it's nothing special, so to speak. And then I have the window where I'm meant to exploit it and punish. Now, there are obviously upsides of Immortal Abomination. That Immortal Abomination is quite, so to speak, a specialist in terms of poisons. You place poisons on opponents rapidly, a lot of debuffs, and the weakness mechanic is one of the most alluring things, where you can basically just take any multi-hit attacks on your block easily, as well as it mitigates like your general parry damage, mitigates your general block damage. And I think that whole weakness mechanic could potentially make Immortal Abomination extremely good for taking stun immune nodes. And I think that is one of the best qualities about it, because you can just hold your block, place those weaknesses on opponent, and opponents are going to get weaker and weaker, right? And you can recover a lot of health thanks to those poison debuffs being placed on you as well. Abomination is certainly quite tanky, which I do like. You can see, I nearly made a mistake. But here, my field is expiring. So this is what happens when I run out of poisons. Your field goes away and you deal hardly any damage, unfortunately. So I'm gonna have to drop that level 1, and now I need to build up to level 2. And again, if opponent plays passively, like this puncher didn't want to use his level 2 at all, even though I gladly wanted to block it. We can see that I'm taking hardly any damage from that level 2, which is awesome, which is one of the best things about the character. But passive opponents definitely can be a burden. So far, I think Immortal Abomination is a good addition to the contest. Definitely far more successful design than Immortal Hulk. I think Immortal Hulk has quite big, massive, fundamental flaws in the design, and I cannot believe that Kabam released the champion as he is, already tweaked it, and even after the tweak, still rubbish. Now, Immortal Abomination's far better, I think. Unfortunately, he's also far uglier, but he is far better. I like that whole tankiness mechanic based on how many poisons I have active on myself, and the fact that you can take a lot of block damage. That definitely could potentially help in Alliance War boss fights and stuff like that. And then once you do get to that level 2, you can get to decent amounts of damage. It's just you have to kind of like get to that amount. So it means that A, for instance, is definitely not suitable for quote-unquote nuking down content or very short level fights. But I can put, and as far as I know, I have heard few people bring it up to me, he has kind of been designed like a Dr. Doom killer. And you can see that in several ways, and you mitigate a lot of the block damage that you would take against Dr. Doom, because Dr. Doom has a lot of block penetration. You have class advantage, poison bypasses all of Doom's tankiness, and there are also like several. For instance, once you do get your 10 poisons active, you go unblockable. That also means that you have easier time against stun immune opponents. So yeah, as I said before, there's a lot of good things. Again, this is kind of annoying. Like, so I have a passive opponent, and my death field just started to expire. Barely made it in time to like recover it. And the death field thing, or however it's called, I always forget, is very, very important to maintain up for an entire fight. And you can do that whenever opponent is cooperating with you. When they're not, however, it can put you back at the start. But playing Abomination, it's fun, it's cool, it's definitely enjoyable. It doesn't feel dull or anything. And we're gonna try Abomination like a longer content as well. I'm gonna try and find an Act 5 quest where I can bring in Immortal Abomination. Probably something with Buffet node would be cool, if I can remember in Act 5. I know that 5-star rank 3 might be, sorry, 4-star rank 3 might be kind of like punching up a bit. But let's hope it works well enough. Now remember, Hulkbuster does reduce poison damage. I probably should have dropped to level 2 there, but hey. There you go. And another thing that I do like a lot about Immortal Abomination is that you do have quite high ramp-up potential. So it's not only the medium level fights that you want to use Immortal Abomination. Immortal Abomination can potentially be a very solid, respectable option for like longer level fights. For your, I don't know, Labyrinths, or I don't know if there's a home for him in Abyss. I wouldn't think he's a good Abyss champion, but there is a potential of using the guy in some of the Labyrinth fights if you want to do so. So I do like the fact that he can ramp up his damage with multiples of level 3s and 2s and stacking up your auras and all that stuff. So that is kind of cool. And I'm absolutely rubbish there at awaiting some stuff, but it's a good chance to showcase Abomination's heal. So my initial hope was that Abomination will feel kind of role like an Archangel did, where he's a niche champion, but one of the best champions at what he does. Unfortunately, I think he doesn't quite do it as well enough. Like, there's Immortal Abomination is great, but in many different situations, for instance, if you need poison damage, you might just want to go Dr. Voodoo, and you're gonna have buff control and regeneration and start for every fight. Or any of the other, like Black Widow Clairvoyant for Acid Wash, for instance. She has very easy access to poison, but more immunities and more abilities. So I'm not entirely sure, outside of like a couple very specific scenarios. Like, he does seem to be like a very good Dr. Doom boss counter. But then again, to be 100% fair, Dr. Doom hasn't been the most challenging boss in AW anyways. Don't really see him that often, and when we do, Ghost often does the fight well enough. So would we as an alliance, as an ASR, would want to rank up and then try and bring in and test out Immortal Abomination against Dr. Doom instead of Ghost, for instance? I don't think we would. It's definitely going to be interesting to see if Abomination finds kind of like a solid endgame meta use. Because I'm not absolutely sold that he will. Which is a shame. Let's move on. Next up we have Thor. We're going to try and go and finish up this quest in its entirety, because we're going at a decent speed. Again, all of the fights are pretty much over as soon as we are able to drop that level 2. Then we get the death field, then we get 10 poisons an opponent, then we go unblockable and we deal a ton of damage. That is the entire MO of the character. There are longer, more complex loops involved, but the base idea, base rotation is extremely simple, which is a good thing. I think we have had quite a lot of champions who are quite complicated, and Immortal Abomination really is not. For 99% of the players who are going to use Immortal Abomination, they really don't need to know too much about the character. And the way to use it is simple. Get to level 2, win. And yeah, we can see that straight after level 2, we did a bunch of damage. I need to drop my level 1 now to get some more poisons on, and with that the fight's pretty much over. So yeah, the base rotation is very simple. Just level 2, and then if the fight's still not over, drop a level 1 or something. I do think Immortal Abomination is going to be very suicide-friendly champion, though. Especially where you can heal back up in longer fights. So that is a good thing. I always welcome suicide-friendly champions to the game. And yeah, I do like running those masteries myself, so I will try out Immortal Abomination again at a later time with how Chi Mastery is active. Let's see, another upside of Abomination obviously is the heal mitigation, because poison in itself reduces healing pretty much instantly. And then in addition to that, you have access to Petrify, you have access to some other debuffs. And yeah, it's not too bad. Except don't have that much control over it. Here you can see that all of my debuffs kind of like, and all my Petrify's expired whilst Iron Man was still regening. So I don't think he's going to be quite the most precise and best heal counter, but he definitely does it extremely well. Right, so now the boss. Now the boss is equipped with Spectre. That means I should be losing my health. Also, can we appreciate the fact that I'm starting this fight with 100% after going through an entire quest, making mistakes, getting hit, taking chip damage, and I'm still at full health. So that is definitely a very good thing when it comes to kind of like general use for an average player, I'd say. It's very important. And now again, this boss fight slightly longer. Boss has significantly higher PI than I do. And we can see the damage the Spectre is doing. Let's drop the level 2 here. I have plenty of 5 poisons, should be enough to maintain that field for a while. Now we're racing to having 10 poisons on the opponent. And here we go. We're dealing a bunch of damage. Again, bunch of damage. And the fight is closing to the finish. I'm just going to finish level 2. Now, what would be another content-appropriate place to rank it in? I think Act 5 to find a decent... Because Act 5 is filled with very powerful globals. I think I can try and bring him in the harder quests of Master Mode. I think that would be relatively content-appropriate. So let's go to the Immortal Hulk section. So a couple of fights on the final quest of Master Mode. Let's see what the PI opponents are there. They're about 10k. I think that will give us somewhat decent chance to showcase how good or bad or is it some different level fights. So then 9k, 10k, I think is good enough. I'm gonna have to use an energy refill, but that's fine. I think I do have one somewhere. So where should we go? I think we're gonna go up. Oh no, I'm gonna use a small refill here because I think again, next fight is Iceman or there was Sentinel. Then again, poison immune character will not quite be the best place where to go. But let's see how we do against this Green Goblin. Should be quite interesting matchup as he does have that multi-hit level 1, which in theory should hurt quite bad, right? Because PI is 2.5 times higher than mine. So let's try and bait it out. So you can see the weaknesses, and by the end, hardly taking any damage. And whatever damage I took, I'm recovering from having poisons placed at me. Abomination is also not having his healing reduced by poisons as aggressively as all other champions. There's a special mechanic for him that lessens the amount poisons can reduce the healing. But let's go. Let's get to that level 2. I'm gonna get that aura active now. Whoopsie. So got hit. It's all good. I have a bunch of weaknesses, a bunch of poisons. I'm gonna go unblockable now. And by doing so, I get extra burst damage. Life's good. My unblockability had expired though. So I think at this point, I have to drop my level 1. Get more poisons on me. and I'm blockable, and I have damage increase. So yeah, that has been Immortal Abomination as a rank 3 4-step champion. Please do let me know where else do you want me to take in this champion and what kind of fights you'd like to see before I upload kind of full comprehensive guide and review. I obviously do need to get in some playtime with the character because these were literally my first fights with this champion ever. And yeah, I do hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you have, please do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and all the other buttons. And I'm gonna catch you guys soon. See ya. Hello there guys, and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information